Welcome to the podcast with your favorite cash flow guys, Mike and Blaine. Giving you the best advice while having a beer. When you're running a business, there are problems every day. Let Mike and Blaine help you out and guide your way. Cheers to the good times with Mike and Blaine for business, beer, and BS.
Hey, it's Mike and Blaine. I'm Mike Blaine. That's Blaine Birch, and this is Business, Beer, and BS. You are on episode 148, and we are talking about employees today. Employees. Everywhere I go, people say, I can't find people, I can't keep people, I can't do these things with people. Let's dig into that because that's the hot topic on everybody's mind. Blaine Birch, what's going on, man?
Oh, right before we popped on here, we were both talking about we've both been sprinting this week. It's like can't even catch our breath. So this is gonna be nice because the first time all week I'm just like, okay, let's just sit around, BS a little bit, have a beer. It'll be nice.
My calendar was packed. I got people like going, hey, I couldn't find time on your Calendly. That's a weird thing, right? Now, part of it's my fault. Part of it's my fault because I accepted an invitation to be part of the Trinity University Accelerator Program, which was 2 4-hour days this week. And I got 2 4-hour days next month, right? But that's my passion. I can't sit here and say that I want to help entrepreneurs, that I want to, help eliminate cash flow as a reason that businesses fail, and then not put my money where my mouth is, or my time where my mouth is.
Yeah, exactly. It's the nature of the beast. Although I think it'll slow down a little bit for us when we get near the end of July, early August. Usually slows down a little bit for a couple of weeks, and then we're sprinting till end of December. And but it's been a crazy week. And I was telling you before, I think about a dozen meetings this week already. I think I had 6 in one day. I think it was Tuesday, and it was just all like in and out. And it was great, but it's also like, it's kind of exhausting, to be honest. Like by the end of the day, I can barely function.
You know what those days remind me of? Like going, you have to go to the mall. Now I want to go to the mall because I want stuff, right? Like you want stuff out of the meeting, but I just don't want to deal with all the people.
It's yeah. But like I love talking with people. I know you're the same way. I love talking with people, but yeah, by the end of the day like that, I'm just like, oh my God, my brain is mush. Like it's exhausting. It's just exhausting doing that, but it's good. It's all good. It's all good stuff. So I can't complain.
You know what brightens your day? Beer.
Always.
Beer. Come on.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you what. All right, so I'm gonna start with our beer sponsors. We got plenty of beer sponsors. I mean, as it is. And matter of fact, I even had a group of students that have a cool idea. They go, hey, we're thinking about, sponsoring on your show. So they told me that today. I'm like, hey, it's $5, man. $5 an episode. If you're a young entrepreneur just trying to get your name out there on something. Yeah. $5 an episode. Yeah.
Like, see other shows, they use Patreon and they have patrons and all this stuff. It's like, we got beer sponsors. It's just awesome. I much prefer that. I think it's awesome. And we got to dive in and before we get into what beer we're drinking, let's thank those beer sponsors. I'm going to jump in with Baltimore Mike because I got a list here, and Baltimore Mike, the other Mike Milan, delivered beer to me in Scottsdale, sent some across country to Mike. And thanks again, Mike. Always appreciate that. It's terrific beer.
Dude, he's such a good guy. I mean, he'll send me funny memes and stuff like that. It's just, he's always ready to have a great conversation. So really like that. Now, I can tell you this, though, because we were talking about in the workshop today, I'm like going, hey, yeah, there's other people out there with my name, but I think if you Google me, I'm the guy that dominates the search. There's other Mike Milans, there's musicians, there's psychologists, there's, Mike Milan from Baltimore, but nobody dominates the search like Cash on Mike. I could tell you that now.
No, you own Google, man. You own Google.
Hey, it's a hard thing to figure out. We got to do an episode on that, like this SEO thing. I mean, I'm just now understanding some of the things that it's doing. And I'm by far not an expert. I'm just like everybody else as a business owner. I got to figure this stuff out.
It's tough. It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me brag on neighbor Pat.
All right. Yeah.
That seems different, right? Because normally I'm like, neighbor Pat, I'm usually giving him a jab. This guy yesterday, you got to remember in San Antonio right now, it's 95 to 100 degrees. Me, all right, so have you ever done something in your house where, Heather goes, if I would have done that, you'd be yelling at me like you made a mistake, like you messed something up, you put a hole in the wall when it shouldn't have been there. You make a mistake, right? And she likes to go, if you'd done that to me, I'd have never lived it down. You had one of those moments? Yeah, I did that to
this week, maybe not, but in general, yes.
All right, so last summer, I have a golf cart in the garage, and I put too much water in the batteries, and overnight, I don't know what happens. It expands because of the heat or whatever, but water comes out of the batteries and drops onto the epoxy floor in my garage. Eats a hole in the epoxy and just leaves the nastiest stain, there.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I didn't just take the initial ask, chewing over that. It's every time she pulls her car out, because it's on her side of the garage now. Every time she pulls her car out, guess what she's got to see? That bad spot in the floor. So I'm having it done tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I'm just tearing the floor off and redoing it. Well, here's what happens if you try to do that while there's stuff. You got to take all that stuff out of the garage. And it's stuff, right? It's like, yeah, you know how hard it is to ask your friend to move? Not neighbor Pat. Hey, I got some stuff I got to move from one garage to the other so they can strip this floor and redo it. Can you come down? He says, yeah. After dinner, I'll be down. Didn't have to ask him again. He was already down before I even thought about it again. He came down last night. 45 minutes it took us to clear this garage. That's a long time. And in San Antonio at 9-10 o'clock at night, it's still hot. Or 8 o'clock or whatever time we did this. 8 o'clock. It was still hot. We're both drenched in sweat. We're drinking, just a beer just to keep it going. But this guy was a workhorse. He came down here and we just plowed right through it. It did take 45 minutes, but man, I could not have done it without him. And I'm very thankful. And by the way, not only did he bring the beer I'm drinking today, neighbor Pat's smoked porter.
Oh,
and
nice.
I didn't do that. He did that to his own label, which means all these things. He got mad at me last time, but this rip and this tear and this, that, and the other, that's him. He did that, not me. It was an accident.
Sounds amazing, though. Sounds like a great beer.
So he brought this down for the show. And remember what I said about his last beer? The one that I thought was favorite, not the Blue Moon, but the Irish Red.
Oh,
no, the Irish Red was my favorite ever.
Yeah.
He brought me down another one. So I got 2 growlers in the fridge right now, both from neighbor Pat. I cannot wait to taste this smoked porter because it's going to be one of those ones. It's just, I'm going to remember. So it's awesome. He's getting better at it. He's getting better at brewing too.
Nice. Well, that's great. So yeah. And we never can forget Larry Weinstein, and he's back in for even more weeks. So thanks, Larry. I just heard you upped again. So that's just awesome. And loving to have you around for forever as our beer sponsor. So best CPA in Houston. You're looking for a CPA? Connect with Larry Weinstein and you're good to go.
Larry didn't just do a couple weeks. He asked Alexa, he goes, Alexa, how many weeks are left in the year? And he just sponsored the rest of the year. That's what's happening with our sponsors right now. They're saying, hey, I don't know if it's, the relationship, the show, it's the results, doesn't matter. They are true supporters of the show. And people are just saying, yeah, it's good enough. Just keep doing it. Keep doing what you guys are doing. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the one I can't forget is the other person that also sponsored for a whole year just went, nope, I'm in for the whole year. Rachel Barnett over at Gentle Frog. If you want to learn QuickBooks, you want to know about QuickBooks, you need help with QuickBooks, you contact Rachel over at Gentle Frog and she's going to get you lined out.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Rachel. Thanks again, everyone. And we just appreciate you guys so much. And just reach out to us. You can, if you know us, you can send us an email, send us a text. We'll get you. But go over to mikeandblaine.com. And that's the other way. just go over to mikeandblaine.com. You can actually just buy some beer right there. And now you're a sponsor, and you can buy multiple weeks. And now you're a sponsor for multiple weeks, $5 a week. It's just like the most inexpensive market.
Yeah.
We're just,
you know what's
the cheapest
funny?
marketing.
Yeah.
Like we're not even raising that price. We've been here for years. We're just like, no, that's $5. That's what it is.
You know what's funny is I don't think people think that that's marketing. Maybe we've messed that up where we say buy us a beer. That's your sponsorship, right? That's you sponsoring the show. That's not just buying us a beer to drink on the weekend. That's the one we drink during the, during the show.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you own a brewery, you should definitely be sponsoring us. All you got to do is drop beer off at my house and you're a sponsor. So, keep that in mind.
And we've had people do that. We've had people give us cases of beer. Just say, here, talk about us for a little bit. Cheapest thing you can do. You give beer out to your friends anyway. You might as well be talked about.
Exactly. And so we always feature some microbrews. Of course, you're featuring Neighbor Pat. I've featured these guys a number of times, but boy, I love their beer. And you were talking about, if you're hiring staff and if it doesn't really work out and everything, and then, when it goes wrong, you feel like you're just standing there in your birthday suit. So that's why I picked the Snake Lake birthday suit double IPA. And
that's a good one.
It's a bit of a stretch trying to pull that one together. But Snake Lake is just this terrific beer, and their double IPA is awesome. Just one of my favorites, actually. It's really, really good. And I was drinking it, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna go buy some more of that. It's 8%, so it's a little heavyish, but it's just delicious. It's really good.
Dude, Pat, it's super good, but the smoke is there. It's like I licked a campfire or something. It's smoky. It's got a heavy taste to it. So super good. All right. So employees. So today what I want to talk about is this thing. I've been talking to people all around. It seems like every time I talk to accountants, their clients have the problem. They have the problem. My students over at the university have the problem. Man, where do I find people? Where do I find people that are good, that we keep, and they feel the same way that I do about my business? Mm-hmm. So what I thought we would do is let's talk about recruiting, retention, what's good, what's bad, why it's different between the owner and the employee. I think that's a key distinction, right? Employee, owner, on the way you feel about your business to the way they should or could feel about your business, and kind of run that through. And the reason why I outlined it up front is that Pat paid me a really nice compliment, Neighbor Pat. He goes, what I like about your show over others, he says, in others, I feel like they just go back and beat up the same thing, right? It's like we're like going, yeah, we get it, move on. I don't think that we do that. He doesn't either. He goes, it seems like you guys move through it naturally, progressing and get to a logical conclusion at the end. So that was the best compliment, because it's not planned. If it was stage rehearsed, if it was stage rehearsed, we couldn't do it better.
That's probably why it works out that way, because we go off on these BS tangents. And then you're so good at circling us back and getting us back on track. That's thanks, Pat. I appreciate that. So, but this is a huge topic. When I saw the topic today, and I'm like, this is a juicy one. And I don't think we've talked about, I don't even know if we've talked about this topic, but if we have, it's been a lot of episodes. We're talking 50, 100 episodes back when we talked about this. Yet it is a huge issue, because if you hire the right people, the right teammates, it moves your business forward so fast. If you hire the wrong ones, it can stop you dead in your tracks. It's not like, well, if you hire the wrong ones, it's just like it carries on, but they're not as productive. It can actually really be a detriment to the team and grind you to a halt. It's just so important. So it's tricky.
Yeah, well, you got a philosophy. I mean, I always say fire fast, but you added to it. You said, was it hire slow, fire fast, or there's something you have on the front of that? Yeah,
that's the mantra: hire slow, fire fast. So in other words, like take your time, and if they don't fit, move them out. Because and you know what? Like, I know the mantra. I've known it forever, and usually if I regret something after the fact, it's one or both of those reasons, because even though I know it, it's been ingrained. If I skip that, it's usually a really, it hits you hard. And I look at, you ask business owners, they almost always, like, if something doesn't work out, they'll usually say, I should have got, like, it didn't work. We should have just kind of parted ways sooner, because it's not good for anybody to keep going like that, right?
Yeah, you know what? That's so common to think that way. Not everybody acts on it, but when you said it, like the fit and getting rid of people fast and those type of things, it reminded me of a story. You heard of the company Zappos?
Yeah, shoes.
Yeah, did shoes online, right? And they just popped out of nowhere, and all of a sudden they're in the. Remember, TSA used to have ads in the bottom of their. Well, you probably don't know. Canadian. Like,
oh, I've been through TSA so many times from.
Right. So they used to put ads in the bottom of the what are those things called? The trays, the buckets.
Oh, the trays? Really? I don't remember that.
They used to advertise. So I'm like, going, the government's actually selling advertising in the bottom of these trays that you put your luggage in, right? Which is super smart, because everybody has to look in there. And Zappos was the first one I ever saw do that. They actually advertised in the bottom of those bins. I guess bins is a better word for it. And then you push it through the X-ray machine. But I'm like, damn, how smart is that? Because that just recirculate all day long. Every traveler sees that. Yeah. All right. But there was a story I heard where they're like going, we don't need people that are bad fits. We don't need it, right? So when they hired, at the end of the person's first week, they offered them $2,000 to quit if they didn't feel like it was a good enough fit, right? Meaning the employee, not the company. If the employee says, yeah, this is a different culture for me. It's a bad culture. I don't know if I can succeed. Then they offered them $2,000 to leave. I'm like going, shit, that's smart, right? You're like going, really, you're finding out super fast. You're letting the employee decide if they fit or not. Think about that, right? Because the first week, if you're going to fit in with this group of people you now subscribe to or got hired on by. I don't know why that didn't catch on, right? I didn't know why that didn't catch on, where more people were saying, I want the right person and I want you to turn down money to be here. Right? Think about it. Yeah. I want you to feel so good about your job that you're getting paid right, that you like who you're working with, you like the job, you're in the right place, and you'll turn down money today to stay.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's a nice angle, but you're still putting it back on their shoulders, right? Like as the employer and as a team, and you're looking at the people that are added to the team, and that's the thing, like letting people go is brutal. Like there's nothing fun about that. Like it is not, and no matter how much I look at it and go, it's not the right fit, it's not good for either of us, it's still tough to do. But when you've seen the effects of keeping people that are the wrong people too long, and the effects you have on your team that you value, the ones that are just, you have to be quick. You have to be really resolute on those decisions, right?
And I think fit is the hardest thing to define. It's a feeling, not a definition.
Yeah, you hear all the time, and I think I used to be a bit of the but hire for culture first, hire for skill or whatever after. Or to me, a lot of times it was like, hey, as long as they've got the prereq of the skill and everything, it's all about culture fit. It's all about what makes them tick, and is it the right fit for your business? And man, that can be hard to see sometimes, hard to distinguish.
Well, I tell people all the time, I say, I can teach this skill. Matter of fact, Courtney and I had a discussion the other day. She goes, I don't even know if I care about college degrees anymore. because I can teach the skill. That doesn't mean it as much to me as if you got the heart. What I can't teach is heart. What I can't give you is the want to be here or the want to do this job, right? But I can teach you how to do the job pretty easily.
Yeah.
I would rather have somebody like that wants to be here and is eager to learn. And I guess it's will and skill that you always combine. You know, do they have the will to do it and the skill to do it? That's what makes a great, person, a great employee, a great owner even.
Yeah, I think it goes a lot further than that too, because how do they work with the rest of the team? How do they work with you? I'm going to give an example here, and I'm going to name one name. I'm not going to name the other. There is a brewery in Edmonton here that, like, last summer, we were there basically every weekend because it was just a really convenient spot on our bike. And so we'd stop there oftentimes and we go to another one after or whatever. And so we're talking like almost 6 months of biking in a row on the weekend. And every time I used to, this is probably not the most flattering thing, but I'm like, yeah, they just hire goldfish, because you walk in and they just got this blank stare on their face. They have no freaking clue who I am. Every freaking week you walk in and and it's not like they're having small talk with anyone else there. And it was just routine and so I looked at them, I'm like, you know what? This group hired people because they look like they should work in a brewery. It kind of look like they got personality and they're all tatted up, but it turns out they got no personality. And then earlier this year we popped into, and here's where I'm going to name names, Irrational Brewing on 124th Street in Edmonton. And walked in. I've just been to this other place a bunch of times, and we'd grown a little tired of it, I'll be honest. And walked in, and the staff also looked like someone that's really interesting and works at a brewery. And they were really interesting, and you could tell they love their customers. It was absolutely night and day. So I walked in, and it was like the reception was, welcome back and everything. And one of the staff there, I'm talking to her. I'm like, she felt like an old hat at this. And I asked her for a recommendation. I wanted a beer. And she goes, I got to tell you something. This is my first day. I'm like, holy shit, do they hire well? Because they were so dialed in. And so we've been there 3 or 4 times over the last few weeks, and bang on staff. And so how did this one company get bang on staff every time you walk in? They're different people oftentimes, but they're freaking awesome. And then this other one just is an absolute failure. They can technically do the job, but they are the worst customer service people I think I've ever seen.
Okay, because you as a customer, that's what you value, but that may not be what the owner values, right? So when the owner, the head of state, controls the culture, and maybe he doesn't want somebody that's bubbly and all that because he's not that way. So
not bubbly. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a bubbly thing. I'm saying that you can tell right away that they care about their customers, and they've got just outstanding customer service versus it's like they've memorized the lines and they know how to punch it in the computer. That is all. Very, very odd. Very odd.
No, that's still leadership. I use bubbly, and you kind of went off on that, but bubbly is not. It's just a word. It's like going. Yeah. Your employee, your staff, are going to emulate you in what you want. Yes. So when I look at a staff that has no personality, that is, maybe they look the part but don't act the part, it's because either I didn't empower them to act the part that is successful with a customer, or that's what I want. Maybe I want that. Maybe that's the culture that fits.
Yeah. Or is the ownership, are the owners, do they even know it? Do they even care? Because you're right, because they
exactly
don't care
right.
about their customers in a way. Like they care about, the product, the atmosphere and everything, but they got this barrier between them and the customer.
Yeah,
it's a ginormous wall, right?
And remember, I don't know how many times we've talked about it in this podcast, right? There's 148 episodes. And I know I've told you how many times I ignored the customer. The biggest story I give you is the one at Finnegraph, where we're like, we built this badass product and you only want this much of it. And we kept for a year and a half hammering on, no, you need the full thing. We didn't turn successful until we took the little part that the customer want, meaning the customer who was telling us what they wanted, we ignored it.
Yeah.
When we took that out, it changed the whole trajectory of the whole business. I'm like, why not listen to a customer like you saying, you know what? I like it when I'm just feel welcome.
Yeah.
I feel welcome. Right.
And I'm the same way, because I can say all this stuff, but we've been guilty of the same thing of not really listening to our customers, looking a little bit at who's buying, who's spending money, and not really looking at who's super successful and just kicking them down the door because they want us and why. And as we start to get much more obsessive of talking with our customers that are super successful, it's really helped paint that direction, right? So you're right. But that's sort of the nature of what we're talking about. Is it starts at the top down, and you set the culture, and it probably is a reflection of you, what your team is like, right?
Yeah. So, remember when I ran bar restaurants? So, when you talk about these breweries and what they're doing, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Because I told you early on, I'm like going, every time I went in there, I was like a character in a play.
Yeah.
They didn't just come in for the beer. You can get a beer anyway, especially if it's Bud Light or whatever. They didn't just come in for the beer. They didn't come in for a hamburger or, French fries or whatever, wings. They came in because they felt a part of something. They felt like connected. And it's an emotional connection. It's hard to describe, but it's easy to do. And what I would do is when I came in, before I went to the office, before I went to the kitchen, before I looked at the register, I would walk the floor and say, hey, what's going on? Good to see you again. I knew your name or not. Hey, good to see you. If I just recognize their face, good to see you again. Hey, what's going on? What have you been up to? It would take me 15 minutes just to start my whatever work I wanted to do. Yep. But it kept people coming back. Oh my God. Yeah, I know Mike. But I became a character into the play. They came there because they felt like they were part of it.
Yeah. But your staff sees that. And if that bleeds through your staff and you hire people with that same sort of personality, and then they see you do that, then that's how you build that culture, right?
And I would do that with the bartenders. If I saw them and they treated a person they knew one way and a person they didn't know another, I'm like going, hey, why do you talk to so-and-so, casual, aloof, like like buddy. And then this person that you probably don't know, it's stoic, it's professional, it's cut off. They didn't come to a bar or restaurant to be stoic, professional, cut off. They came there to be a part of a community. You had a great opportunity just by saying, hey, what's going on? Hey, I haven't been seeing you here before. Tell me about you. That cost you $0.
I will tell you a little bit, though that's just, I got to throw a little bit of a wrench in this too, because what I'm comfortable with and what I prefer is maybe not necessarily what everyone else does. And you brought this up. There's a fundamental difference when you cross the border. So up here in Canada, it's much more the culture that they don't bring, even if they recognize you, it's almost like it would be rude to admit they recognize you, almost like it's a different culture here. So when I'm up here for the summer, the first few times I walk in and it's like, you feel like you're kind of like getting snubbed. And then after 6 months of this, then I go down to the States and everyone's like, welcome back. I haven't seen you at there's a brewery down in South Scottsdale. You walk in like, man, I haven't seen you in a while. And it's like, it's been 6 months. I've been up north. I don't even say that, but they like, oh, we got this beer for you. And they remember, and it's a very different culture. And so part of this is a culture thing of the greater community. But then there's always levels within that, right? There's always levels in there.
All right. So that's interesting. So it is a preference for you, right? Because let's think about it. The other place might be successful with just people that act as normal Canadians act. You said there's a culture thing in Canada
Sort of
where, hey,
dickish. I'll call a spade a spade because
you know what?
Travel, that's what you feel.
After the way you said that, though, I don't think it's a dickish move. I think it's, hey, I appreciate the fact you're a customer. We're not here to impede on your, on your experience.
Yeah.
They're not there to enhance it either. They're not there to enhance it either. They're just there to give you an experience.
But the ones that I'm most comfortable with are probably closer to what I see most often in the States. They're a little bit more personable, but there is still this dividing line between basically shitty service and good service. Even if it's like a bit standoffish and, like you said, really professional and everything, you can still tell the difference of, I care about the customer and I want to serve them versus they're just kind of a hassle. They're kind of annoying me today. And there's a big there, and you can feel it, you can see it, it. And it's, so there's that's still translates, right? So, but I guess the question is, how do you find the right people?
Hey, first of all, if you want to find the right person to coach you in financial management or cash flow, you should contact Cashflow Mike. It's about that 30-minute mark. So
I feel bad that you did your own segue because I probably should be trying to do a segue.
That's all right.
You're so good.
That's all right. That's all right. But you teed it up really good. I mean, anytime you throw a fiddle hopper up there, I'm gonna go ahead and knock it down.
You know what? I just like to, be sticking to my knitting. So
that's good.
But I like you got fiddle hopper in. That's good stuff.
You've been hitting it. Like, I'm a month behind on those. I mean, I was getting it for a while, and then you started getting it on me. I'm like, oh, I can get one in right here. So, all right. So here's the thing about, Cashflow Mike. If you're interested, if you've ever felt like you just don't have enough money, like it's one of those things where I know I'm making money. I see it on paper, but I don't have any in the bank. I'm always waiting for money to come in before I can do something else. If that's you, if you felt that, then contact me, because I've got tools and techniques and tips and a partnership with Dry Run that puts you in a position to not only forecast your cash flow, but understand why it's happening and take action to fix it, right? So the combination between us is powerful, and it shows in your bank account. So go to cashflowmike.com. The first step you got to take is download my book, The 7-Minute Conversation. It teaches you how to look at your financial statements through the eyes of your business, right? Which is like going, oh, I'm seeing everything through the eyes of my business on the financial statements in a manner where I can see where the problems are. And then I can take action. So go to cashflowmike.com, download the 7-Minute Conversation, and get started analyzing your company today.
And there's no time that it's needed more. I actually saw a stat the other day that I think it was over 93% of CFOs, it's basically cash flow and liquidity that is the main driver for almost everything they do, including strategy for their business. It's a much bigger deal than it even was a few years ago. Always a big deal, but it's tricky out there right now. So go see Mike, because he'll get you back on track. And it's there's no room for error right now.
Man, look at that! Is that like a perfect beer from Pat? Look at this thing.
It's a nice beer, Pat.
Poured right out of the growler.
Nice.
I mean, I think it's even got some almost some Guinness legs starting to drop down. You know, he's getting really good at it. All right, so let me go back to, because we got off on customer service, which is different than recruiting and retention, right? Because we were talking about culture, which is part of why I want to be there. But the thing is, I think where most people went to multi-person interviews. You remember that? Where they would it used to be like you'd interview with the manager, they'd hire you, and they'd put you on a desk with everybody else.
Yep.
And then they said, oh, we're hiring the wrong person. They're right on paper. They're right for one person, but they suck when they get out of the team. Mm-hmm. So Then they started saying, well, let's have you interview with maybe somebody on that team, maybe the manager of that team, maybe the HR person, maybe, and you'd get 4, 5, 6 people's opinion. And that was less about skill, because sometimes somebody that was interviewing you doesn't have any idea if the skill fits or not. They're there specifically to see, would I work with that person?
Yeah.
Right? That's it. Just when they talk, could I sit in a meeting with this person every day and listen to this, whatever it is, however it is you talk? And that's the biggest part, is because you get in meetings and you know, as soon as one person in that meeting talks and you don't like them because it's not a good fit, you go, oh, I hate it when they talk. So that's the fit, right?
Yeah.
It's not what they're saying. What they're saying could be totally correct. What they're saying could be exactly what you need, but you don't like it because it's a bad fit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That's really where culture comes in. And it becomes tricky, because what you don't want in your culture is clones of everybody else, because that doesn't work either, right? But they have to work together, and they have to, what is it about your culture that sort of works? And I know when I had a really good run in our creative agency days. Like, we had a decade of hiring people that, I'll be honest with you, I got really spoiled, because we just got really good people, and were very diverse, and they worked so well together. And I think at one point I just kind of felt like, wow, that's easy. I don't know really how we did it. I will say that there were some things that I think we did that ended up smart, but I didn't realize they were smart. So whenever we interviewed anybody and we thought they were a good fit, we'd have a follow-up interview. And the follow-up interview was like out for lunch or at a pub or something like that. And it was getting to know them as a person. And that really seemed to, looking back, be a bit of the ticket that I didn't really necessarily recognize. And then when I've had some flub ups, we bypassed a lot of things. Or sometimes, I'll be honest with you, sometimes I put other people in charge of hiring someone. I wasn't involved enough, and I kind of letting them do their thing. And that, you find out after, it's like, oh shit, I didn't really give them any guidelines, any culture. Like, I just assumed they would work the way I do. Right. So I've learned some hard lessons from doing that. And I've learned some big lessons of, when you have the right team, man, you have the right team, you can run on a fraction of the people than the wrong team.
Dude, there was a team I was on. It seemed like the perfect mix, right? You're right. You can't have all drivers where everybody's like, "Oh, I'm the driver." It's just a task and result, and we're just all trying to push towards a thing. You can't have that, because then there's fights, because everybody has their own driving metric. But we had a team that there was a driver. There's an expressive personality, which is the person that gets everybody pumped up and excited and can tell the story and get everybody going. There's an analytical person that says, okay, if we do that, ... crossing T's, dotting I's, making sure details are checked. Then there's another personality out there called the amiable personality. And these are kind of the shy people. And our nickname for this person was Debbie Downer, right? So if you think of that person, like, he really doesn't talk that much. But the way he delivered his opinion was so just, I don't know, eased in, and you always took him seriously, and it was always on point. And it wasn't such that he was just poo-pooing on everything. It was like, oh, hey, have we thought about this? And this is what I would think. And the way he delivered the message as a shy personality was just the perfect fit in that group, because there were so many other big personalities and detailed people in there. This one opinion had a lot of weight, a lot of sway, and it fit with everything else. And everybody goes, hey, let's run it by Debbie Downer. Because they would just critique it a different way. They would see the whole project differently than everybody else.
Yeah. It's, man, that's where that mix really comes in, and it's really hard. Like we have, our team right now is all remote, right? So I have to have people that have a very high sort of self-starter, give a shit attitude, take responsibility, can work in this sort of remote environment and be really, really effective. But like you said, not necessarily be that driver, right? Like we don't need a bunch of me's drive people. I drive people nuts. If we're a bunch of us, it'd be like, oh my God, like what do you do, right? Like,
Yeah.
so that's a trick, and that's and I think back to like my team that I had when I sold my last company, and like, man, the team was so good. Like that was the hardest thing to leave, was the team that was so good. They got along so well, and yet they were so different. And some were so kind of laid back, and some were driven, and then like our project managers like literally ran the place. Like she could walk in, Blaine, where's this? And I'm like, well, here it is. Like, yes, boss. But but you need that. It just, we had this mix, right? And it's really hard to get. And I have been like, and it is funny, like when I look at it, these things that now I recognize of where some of the success is, we just really at times flubbed up, and you've got to find those ways to find the right culture fit and the right person. I got to tell you, like one of my friends, there's a friend of mine owns a restaurant. His staff are awesome. Always, like virtually everyone I've met are just awesome, and they're personable. They know us. They're like, just they're so good. And I asked him one day, how the hell do you get such good staff? And it was interesting because he just literally said, he goes, well, I sit down with them, and he goes, I ask them what they do outside of work. And he said, that is the big defining thing. It doesn't, they could have experience, in serving, they could have done this, done that. But he goes, when I ask them what they do outside of work, it's when they have this drive and these passions, and I'm doing this and I'm going to do that, and I'm doing it. And it's like, they're so well-rounded, and they're traveled, and they're this and that. And he goes, that's what makes a really good server, because technically they can do the job, but it's that, I don't know what it is. It's that experience and openness and interest and excitement, and it just translates really well somehow.
Interesting, right? Because I mean, there's always somebody has a secret question they got in their back pocket. Nobody likes to hear during an interview, tell me about a time when you overcome adversity. Is that the shittiest question ever? It doesn't even matter.
I've been in, okay, I'll tell a couple of stories here, because this I think is kind of enlightening. So before I started my first business, so I'm at a university a couple of years, and I had an interview at an offshoot from the university. And it was managing this, I can't remember exactly what it was, to be honest, but I got the interview. So I show up there, I walk in the door, and as soon as I walk in the door, I see a boardroom, and there's about 12 people around the boardroom. And I'm like 25 or 26, right? And I look, and I'm like, what the fuck? So what do I do? So I walk around the entire boardroom, and I shook everyone's hand and said hi to them and chatted with them all the way around. And I thought the interview went pretty good. Never got the job, which is great, because I ended up, like, good for me, because I'm not cut out for that. I wouldn't have lasted long. I'm wasn't long till I was an entrepreneur. But I bumped into someone that was on that was actually the guy that had set up the interview. I don't know, it was a little while later, months later, a year later, I don't remember. And I said, so what was up with that? Like, what? And he said, well, we wanted to see how you responded. And I said, well, how did I respond? He said, you did great. I said, well, then why didn't I get the job? He said, well, because it's through a university and someone had more letters behind their name. because I didn't have a master as master's degree at the time, which I do now.
Yeah.
So literally I have the letters now, but it is kind of funny because I look back and go, in the end, I wasn't getting that job because I had 4 letters, not 8. Right.
Yeah.
And someone else at 8, so did that work out for them? Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Right. But I've been on the other side of the table too, where I was part of a group hiring somebody, and there were several of us in the room, and they had, just like you said, what was your biggest challenge? And they had these pre-cut questions.
They're already written out. Yeah.
Already written out. And I remember sitting there going, how the hell are you going to find out if this person is the right person? Because they are so nervous. And I remembered a couple of these interviews, they were so nervous, they could almost barely talk. The questions weren't related to freaking anything. And I was just like, what? How do you get the right people this way? Right.
There's no conversation there. Your daily work interactions will never be a scripted conversation like that. Yeah. That's why I'm telling you what, before Cashflow Mike set up a company, and our interview was, come with a plan on how you would sell this product. And we gave him everything about the product. Yeah. You come in and say, how would you sell it? That was job related because we were asking them to go sell it.
Yep.
They just pitched it to us. I said, here's the scenario. I'm not going to ask you questions like, where are you from? What's your favorite color? Those type of things. We're in a meeting like we're going to be in a meeting next month after you're hired. What's your plan? How are you going to sell this? Just with the limited, we didn't give away the whole farm. We just say, hey, here's a few things. We only have a half hour for the interview. How would you sell this product? And I'm telling you, it's like you come to present to the executive committee, because that's how I can tell how you're going to respond in real life. Mm-hmm. You come prepare a presentation. Now it's hard because you're like, oh, I'm just an interviewee, but you prepare for an interview anyway. Come. And we had people put together some awesome slide decks, maybe 4 or 5 things. I would start here. Here's what I do. I would change this a little bit. I'm thinking about this from a different perspective. I'm like, oh, you're hired. Because that's what I want. I want you to come with, I gave you just the information I had. You added to it and built a plan around it. I'm like, that's exactly the type of person I'm looking for. Is that let's imitate what it's going to be like to work together.
Yeah. Yeah. And that comes into the skill side, because you have the prereq, right? Like there's businesses and there's organizations that are big enough, and sometimes the training, so first of all, the training sometimes could actually be like, that's actually a fairly simple, straightforward training. It's going to take 3 months to get someone up to speed anyway. We can train them. And then there's other times where we can't train them. They need the skills coming in, but the entire hiring conversation is past the prereq. That's like they bring the skills or they don't. And if they don't, we're not talking to them. If they do, we're going to do some vetting to make sure they actually validate they actually have the skill we need. But then it all comes down to how do they work as a team. I remember that it was kind of funny. We were hiring a designer, adding another designer to our team one time. And so the interviewing was me, my project manager, and our creative director. And so the designers came in, and creative director is there, and he is the portfolio. So he's looking through everything. He's looking at the typography, and he's looking at all the technical things you look at for a designer. And my philosophy a lot of times was, you can tell a lot by the typography. That's that washes out the laundry a lot of times. Like, yeah, it's either good or really tight or not. Like that helps a lot of understanding the skill in the craft. And so he was doing what he's supposed to do. He's looking at the skill level, right? And I remember there's a guy that I kind of glanced over, looked at the portfolio, and I'm like, yeah, this guy's good. And then we started interviewing him, and he just started going through the list of demands. and, and I'm just like getting less and less patient with him because it's almost like, well, I need this and I need this and I don't want to do this. And I'm just, and like, that was literally his interview, is he's telling us all the stuff and all the, and we got to the, and the interview was pretty short because I'm like, well, I kind of had enough of this freaking guy. So we, kind of ended it and left. And the creative director, he looks at me, goes, well, I think we found our guy. Because he had been looking just at the portfolio, right? And our project manager looks at me, she goes, I thought Blaine was going to grab him and throw him out. And I'm like, yeah, just about. Like, no, there's zero chance, right? But, just so engrossed. But all we were looking at from the other side is, what would this guy be like to work with? And how would you work with on the team? And it was like, we're 2 minutes in. I'm like, this guy's done. Like, we're going through the motions now, and I'm going to cut this short in about 10 minutes. Like, it just amazing. But that's, and there might have been a place where he would go in and maybe was the right fit. I don't know. I can't really picture the place, but as much skill as he had, it would have been a disaster, right?
Yeah, that's so weird, right? Because I mean, right off the bat, it's not a good fit. Like, if you're going to do this to me minute one, day one, there's no way I'm signing up for that. If I don't like it today, I'm not going to like it tomorrow. It's only going to get worse, right? Yeah. So, by the way, you're Canadian sneaking back in because you're doing projects all the time. So, yeah.
Man, I've been here for over a month. Like, I've been here almost a month and a half. So you're gonna have to put up with it for a while, and it'll be December before I've got. Is it projects? A project? Yeah. I'm totally mixed up, to be honest.
All right. So before we talk about the Oilers,
I want to say, don't even bring it up because I'll just lie down and cry here. So,
but I want to say, okay, here's my bow. The thing we didn't touch on that I hope we got to today, and we didn't just because the conversation didn't go there. There is a big difference in the expectation of an owner, like going, I care so much. I've got my whole heart into this business. Why don't my employees? Yeah. It's because you haven't touched what's important to them yet. Mm-hmm. Your business, your dream is important to you, but what is it about an employee? You got to remember, when you're building your own business, it's because you're working on your dream. And if you don't work on your dream, you have to work on somebody else's. And for me to be really super hyper and productive on your dream, I got to have a reason. So I don't know if it's money. I don't know if it's like recognition. I don't know if it's further development, but there's something missing in that person's motivation if you can't retain them, a good person. Right. We didn't get to that part today, but because like you said, it's such a big, juicy topic. There's so much. We could probably do 3 or 4 episodes just on this. Mm-hmm. But I want to make the distinction that when you have somebody that you want to keep, you have to find that motivation button for them.
Yeah.
And keep it pressed. Right. And keep it pressed.
Yeah. It's a tricky one. And I will say, like I said, to me, it flows downhill a little bit. If you got the right people and the right culture and they love working in the team and it just works. The one thing we had in my agency days was very, 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 like virtually no turnover. And even at Dry Run, we've had some over the last couple of years, but it's a different world out there right now. But also, I think I kind of made some mistakes and cut some corners in the hiring. But retention, the number one thing you can do in retention, it's the same thing as our customers. If it's if it's a good fit and they're successful, they'll be there for years. Yeah. And so I don't think it's after you hire them. The number one thing you can do for retention is hire the right person, and then it flows downhill from there.
Yeah, and it's not always money. It could be community. I just like being with this group. I feel like I can't get this anywhere else. So I'll do it for less money because I can't get it I can do it for more money over there, but I might not like those people.
Yeah.
Right. That's a big distinction.
Yeah, no, there's a ton of different reasons. And you hope that if you're hiring people, it's because they enjoy the job. They love what you're doing. They love the culture, the people, the flexibility. What you hope is it's not like, well, you're convenient in one way or another. Like it's not the the best sort of thing. But.
All right. So I'm not going to bag on the Oilers because you made it. You're there. You had a shot. Final word. I'm going to give you the final word on it. I won't say any more.
I'm not even going there. That was a bit of a tough pill to swallow. I'm pretty sure like it's raining here today and it's like, yeah, that fits. The entire city will be depressed till
dude, I really thought you were going to say we were down 3-0. We were one game away from elimination 4 times. Dude, that's an amazing feat. You came back 3-0 to 3-3 to force a game 7. What's that happened once?
It's winning it after that is ultra rare, but I think the fans feel just like the team. In a way, it's like, hey, we're proud of them, but it's kind of Stanley Cup or bust at this point, right? Like it was a bit of a hard pill to swallow, and they were good enough. They were good enough in that game to win. And that's the tricky part with one game, a bounce, a call, this, like a little bit of luck, whatever, changes, a goalpost. It's a game of inches. And when you see that game, you're going, man, it's a game of inches. So bit of a tough pill to swallow. Yep. Hopefully they can come back next year. But anyway. Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard. Every sport is hard like that. So, hey, 148's in the books. And I want to remind you, if you liked 148, there's 147 others that you can go check out. You can go to mikeandblaine.com. Every single episode's there. And if you don't go to mikeandblaine.com and you said, no, I listen to my stuff on Apple or Google or Spotify, hey, guess what? We're there too. So check us out on any place that you listen to podcasts. We're there. We're right there with you. So like, subscribe. What else? What'd I miss?
Like, subscribe, follow, buy us a beer. Make sure you buy us a beer, and and you be like a little sponsor for us. And make sure you tell your friends. Don't just like and subscribe. Tell your friends. It's like, you gotta check out Mike and Blaine. You gotta check out Mike and Blaine, because when both of us, I know when we're talking with people, and it's so much fun when they're like, oh, this episode you're talking about, we love that. That's the best thing ever. So. Yeah. Make sure you tell your friends, and come and check out every episode. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. And we manage our own Facebook page. So if you're like, hey, I just want to check out what these guys are, go find Mike and Blaine on Facebook. We respond. It isn't like a social media manager. It's Mike or Blaine that's responding.
Yeah, exactly. Go check us out, and make sure 149 next week. We are so close to 150, and I got to tell you guys, we have something special that we'll think about and plan for 150. We don't have anything.
I'm going, what is it? What is it?
Yeah, I have no idea.
What is it?
We'll have something. It might be dumb. It'll probably be dumb, but we'll come up with something for 150. It's written on my forehead. Whatever. We'll do something for that. So.
Maybe we'll do another A/B test.
Yeah, exactly. We'll come up with something as dumb as our A/B test for 150.
All right. Hey. All right, 148's in the book.
Check out their website at mikeandblaine.com. Then subscribe to the podcast and buy these guys a beer.